everyone, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jing, the Candid Filipina. Today, I'm going to relate to you a story which I feel for a foreigner is worth listening to. It's not really a scam story, it's a real story, so listen to and hear the full story. Story. A couple of years ago, I was living in a squatter area. I was happy as I knew nothing better. Yes, I had dreams, I had ambitions, but I was still content with who I was and what I had. A neighbor of mine who was 23 years old, a lovely looking girl, relatively simple like me myself, told me that she'd met a foreigner online and he was coming over to visit. I was happy for her and wished all the best. Shortly after that, over the next 18 months or so, I didn't see her. Although I did meet her and the boyfriend once in the now. She introduced him to me and he was very bright, very bubbly, and genuinely nice 63 years old from the New York. A lovely guy. As I said, very happy, very positive, and obviously very much in love. It was clear to tell by the look on his face and his constant grin. But, as I said, over the next 18 months, I never saw them. A few weeks ago, whilst I was in the now shopping, I noticed the same guy drinking coffee outside a coffee shop. I barely recognized him. He was unshaved, was shabbily dressed, looking as miserable as sin. I didn't acknowledge him because I wasn't sure if it was the guy I was thinking of. So I walked past him and carried on with my shopping. When I passed him after shopping, he was still sat there at the coffee shop. Out of curiosity, I said, "Hey, don't I know you?" He looked up and he said, "I think we've met before. I'm not sure." I refreshed his memory and then he said, "Yes, yes, we did meet before." As he was looking lost and in a world of his own, I asked him if I could join him. He said, yes, he'd be glad of the company. So I say with him, this is where his story unfolded to me. He informed me that the girl he had met, the neighbor of mine, he had been fallen head over heels in love with. It was like a second coming for him, a second chance of life. He really did love this girl deeply. He had sold up everything in his country and moved here to be with her permanently. He had a decent pension and some savings put aside. So, after chatting to her online for many, many months, he came here to be with her permanently and they rented a lovely apartment for about 15,000 pesos a month. She moved in from the squatter area and he said everything was absolutely marvelous. Of course, he wanted to explore the Philippines and she was ever so excited to join him in his excursions and as his living partner. And he said for the next 18 months, it was wonderful. They lived and they breathed together. They never left each other's sides. They laughed, they joked. They were like two teenage lovers. Everything had worked out for him fantastically. And every month, they'd spend about 10 days visiting the different islands, lovely hotels, swimming pools, food. Everything was fantastic. They went to Boracay, Bohol, Panglao, Palawan, Leyte, Ormoc, Baguio, Manila. Negros, Iloilo. Basically, over the 18 months, they went everywhere. They saw all of the Philippines. It had been wonderful, and after the 10 days, they always come back home and had 20 days at home. When she cleaned and cooked, and everything was fantastic. They laughed, they watched TV, they went shopping together, all the usual things a happy couple do. At this stage, he was ecstatic. He never thought he could find happiness like this. It was unbelievable. His wildest dream had come true. Here he was 63 years old with a beautiful 23-year-old girl. Although, when he left the US and sold everything up to come here, his family were dead against him doing so. They said it would end in tears, but there he was here, and everything was working out fabulously. Anyway, he said 18 months had passed and he was now 65. His hip was given in some trouble. As you get older, these things happen. It's inevitable. So when he came home from the last trip with her and they arrived back in their lovely rented apartment, she asked, "Where are we going next?" Excitedly. He said, to be honest, I'm 65 now. My hip is starting to ache and my joints are starting to ache. We have basically covered all of the Philippines in the last 18 months. Now, and all I want to do is just settle down and live normal life. We'll go shopping every week and maybe once a fortnight we'll take a trip to a local restaurant or local resort for the day. We've done everything. I just want to relax now, settle down, watch the TV, and just enjoy shopping and spending time with you as a happy, loving couple. As soon as he said it, he said you could notice a change in her face straight away. She didn't look happy. In fact, she went tampo, which for those of you that don't know what that means, she didn't speak to him for days. And when she finally did speak to him, she seemed distant. She was spending more time on the phone and less time talking to him and seemed to be losing interest in him very quickly. I must add at this stage, he's not been giving her any allowance. He's paid for her keep. He was, of course, paying for the food and the apartment. All he wanted to do now was to settle down and relax for a few months. Also, during this time, he joined a foreigner meeting which occurred every week but was put off because many seemed bitter and twisted. Some were happy, but most were whiners, and he couldn't understand why. It always puzzled him. It was a few weeks later, whilst he was at one of these foreigner meetings, he returned home and she was no longer there. She had packed her belongings and gone home. He tried to call her, but he found out he was now blocked. He could not understand why he had gone. He understood that they had not been getting on off lately, but he was still puzzled. He was angry. In fact, said after a week, he went and visited her to find out why she had left and to get some answers, When he visited her house, her parents welcomed him with a smile as they had always done. She was there chatting to her sister. So he asked her if he could have a word with her in private. Whereupon he asked why she had suddenly left. She told him she genuinely liked him and thought he was a great fun, but she loved traveling. She got a tremendous thrill out of it because she'd never been able to do that before and thor- thoroughly enjoyed spending time together on their trips. But, she added, once he disclosed to her that they had visited everywhere and his hips were aching and he no wanted to travel anymore and just wanted to settle more and just pop out shopping and the odd day at the resort once a month, she no longer liked that idea. She wanted to continue going away for 10 days a month and enjoying herself. She didn't want to settle down to become a housewife. She explained she wanted to travel, and if he was not prepared to travel with her, then she would find another foreigner boyfriend to take his place. He was totally shocked and devastated. He said to her, well, you can't have loved me truly. You only loved the holidays I provided for you. She looked at him and said, I did like you, but I enjoyed the holidays and I enjoyed traveling, and that's what I want to do for the next few years. I'm too young to settle down. He turned and returned home, broken-hearted, and for the next few months he just stayed in. Didn't eat, couldn't sleep. He said he was totally devastated. His world had been turned upside down. He didn't want to go home as he did not want to admit to his family that they were right and they had been right all along. He'd lost all on his confidence and didn't even want to ask any girl out. He had no interest in any girl, only the one that wanted holidays and not a long term relationship. He fell into a deep depression, he said, and felt on many occasions suicidal. I told him he should seek help and support from the foreigners gathering he joined months earlier. He told me that in the past he could never understand why some were very better and twisted there. But now he understood fully as he felt he was now becoming himself better and twisted, just like the person he didn't want to become. He felt helpless. He felt lost. He felt lonely. A loneliness that he said he had never experienced before like this. It was a dark place, and he really didn't know how to get out of it. Whilst telling me this, he was in a flood of tears. There was nothing I could say or do to comfort him. But on my way home, I gave it some thought. And I thought how easy it is to fall in love, to believe it's all true, and to experience 18 months of wonderful bliss here with someone who you thought truly loved you. Anyway, he hadn't been scammed because she did accompany him and all the wonderful holidays they had. But at the end of the day, when the rosy spectacles came off, he realized who she was and what he was left with. Of course, he still had his pension and his savings. It was his heart that was broken, and I really don't think he will get over it. So, in hindsight, as a foreigner who is planning to come here and meet a wonderful girl and maybe to settle down with her, my advice would be rent a place together, just have the odd day out at our resort now and then, do the usual things like shopping, taking walks out together, spending time in the house together as a couple, and then later on, when you feel the time is right, then start to adventure on a little short trips out and excursions for a few days to different islands. But make it a treat that you do every 3 or 4 months, not every month. And maybe that would be put you in a better position to judge realistically and to truly know the person you are with. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my video on my channel, and I hope when you do visit here or come to retire here that you take your time. Think. Think of how you manage a relationship in your own country for the first 12 months. I think that would be the best policy. But I hope when you do come here that it works out well for each and every one of you. I would love nothing better. Anyway, until the next time, it's me, Jing, signing off. Bye for now.